Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special Women Transforming Manufacturing episode of our Inspire podcast series. I'm Dana Arrowsmith, the General Manager of Dean Houston, Nashville. And with me today is Mary Beth Hudson, who is the Executive Director of the brand new Smart Factory Institute in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mary Beth, welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's exciting. As soon as I heard a Smart Factory Institute was coming to Tennessee, I was thrilled because, we serve mostly manufacturing clients, and that kind of leadership is just going to be so innovative to the region and to the US. But the first question is a little obvious. And what exactly is a Smart Factory Institute?
Okay, so this is the first Smart Factory Institute in the United States. It's a one-of-a-kind operation. It's a public-private partnership operated by PeakPerformance Incorporated, and it's located at the Volkswagen Academy in Chattanooga. And what we do is we're connecting smart technology providers with manufacturers and educators to help collaboration and help manufacturers adopt Industry 4.0 technology.
That is, like I said, it's just the vision of that is such an incredible opportunity. And what I really like about it is that you're not just offering classes. And that is something you're doing and certainly an important part of it, but it's this collaborative approach that really brings everybody together, both, from a people side and a technology side. And, what is your vision for how the collaboration part is going to play out in the Institute as you serve manufacturers?
Yeah, so the premise is that, again, we're trying to connect technology providers with manufacturers and also educators to help introduce everyone to what's available in Industry 4.0. And the way that we're going to do that is technology providers will install their new smart technology at the Smart Factory Institute, and it will be there 365 days a year, available for demonstration and for also training purposes. And we will connect the manufacturers in there by having conferences, exhibits, networking events, expos. They will be able to come into the Smart Factory Institute. They'll be able to learn about what the technology is that's available. They'll be able to see it displayed and operated right there, hands-on, and that will let them understand what opportunities that they may have to install that technology in their manufacturing operations.
So will they be able to actually test product there, like product development, or?
Well, they will be able to use it to simulate operations. Okay. Some of the technology might be smaller, more lab scale type sizing, but they'll be able to test it more or less in a low risk environment.
Yeah, before they try to roll it out to the production floor. That's
right.
Definitely safer. So the Smart Factory Institute spans the globe. How does that benefit the manufacturers that you're going to serve?
Right. So the Smart Factory Institute is part of the Deutsche Messe Global Academies. And Deutsche Messe has these academies in Germany, in China, and also in South Africa. And then we are the newest academy as part of that network. Deutsche Messe started with fairs and expos in Hanover, Germany over 70 years ago, and has been operating the Deutsche Messe Academy in Hanover for over 10 years in the same format, with having technology partners install equipment that's available 365 days a year for demonstrations. Being part of that network gives us the opportunity to have joint conferences, especially utilizing some of the virtual technology. We can be part of joint conferences that are going on in Germany, for example, that will allow our regional manufacturers to have access to what technology is available globally. They'll be able to see not just technology providers that have technology installed at the Smart Factory Institute in Chattanooga, but they'll also be able to virtually participate in conferences that are happening across the globe.
Nice. Well, so the connection between the technology and the manufacturers, that vision, I understand. What about the employees, like that certification process? What's your vision for how that's going to play out?
If you think about the worker and how the work is evolving with Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is really the interface. It's using the technology and it's blurring the lines between the physical and the virtual. And the workforce needs to be upskilled. Another thing that's playing into the training needs is the fact that there is a lot of movement in the workforce right now. We have a lot of retirements. We have people being promoted. We have a lot of people that are just changing jobs. And what that's doing is, instead of having the luxury of having a training plan that may be for months or years for workers, and now we're having to do that much, much faster. What the Smart Factory Institute is doing is we also are partnering with the University of Tennessee Chattanooga's Industrial Organizational Psychology program. And they are helping to identify best practices for training workers in this new smart technology so that it can be done faster and more effectively.
Nice. So they're bringing the psychology portion to it, not just the technical aspect.
Exactly.
Nice. There are some common manufacturer pain points that, most manufacturers are experiencing right now. If you could, just for those manufacturers that might still not get how the Smart Factory Institute could help them, be more productive, be more efficient, maximize their workforce, what are some of those pain points and how the Institute can help to combat those?
Yeah, so there are a few things that are going on. One thing that is important to note is that when we think about manufacturing, most of the time we're thinking about the big manufacturers like Volkswagen. But in fact, over 98% of manufacturers are small and medium sized. And most of them don't have the in-house resources to help them develop an Industry 4.0 roadmap. So what the Smart Factory Institute will do is assist manufacturers in determining what is the technology that's best suited for their operations, and then also help introduce them to the options through the technology providers that are there. Another thing that's going on is that we have a lot of movement, as I mentioned earlier, in the workforce, but also manufacturing is growing in the United States. It's been growing at a rate of about 5% per year. And at this pace, it's projected that manufacturing will need 4 million jobs in the next 10 years, but we'll only have about 2 million skilled workers to fill those jobs unless we do something differently. So what that means is we have to address both the skills gap, but also manufacturers really need to adopt this new smart technology so that they can be more productive. And that will allow them to fill the gap with the needs of manufacturing continuing to grow and being able to have a workforce that can operate their production plants.
Do you know offhand if a lot of these small and medium manufacturers are more supply chain side? Does that, what impact could this have on supply chain?
So a lot of those small and medium manufacturers are the suppliers to those big companies that we talk about. So it could have a huge effect. And we've already seen this year with COVID what happens when you have disruptions in the supply chain. And it affects everything, every aspect of our economy.
Yeah. So we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about your career path. And, you spent 32 years in chemical manufacturing, most recently at Wacker Chemical Corporation. And I'm sure you saw in those few decades a little bit of change. So could you share with our listeners, was there something or someone that helped you advance your career?
I didn't have any formal mentors in my career, but I always established a working relationship with a colleague that I could use as a sounding board
Mhm.
or talk through situations and learn from. I also have the benefit of having a very supportive husband that he has been my biggest champion and given me confidence in being able to go in and ask for those projects that I was interested in or ask for the positions that I was interested in moving into. And that has been the most helpful.
Good. And what were some of the key changes that you saw during that time in your career?
Well, the biggest change is obviously the number of women that were in manufacturing. When I first started, I was working at a chemical manufacturing plant that had about 450 employees, and most of the women were in the office working maybe on procurement or HR or administration functions. There were very few women out in the plant, and for a few years, I was the only female engineer out in the plant. That has changed tremendously, and that has been a very positive change.
Good. Looking at Industry 4.0 and women in manufacturing, how do these technologies open new doors for women, or, what change will they have on women in manufacturing?
Well, I think one of the things that Industry 4.0 does is shift the workplace into needing everyone, not just the engineers and technical people, but it needs everyone that has the ability to troubleshoot and come up with solutions and use their brains.
Mhm.
Men, women, we're all equally capable of doing that. The advantage of having women is we know that when you increase diversity in any team, you come up with better solutions because you have people that bring different experiences and backgrounds and approaches. And it will help with implementing the best solutions at the manufacturing operations when they're looking at their Industry 4.0 roadmap.
So, Mary Beth, let's say I'm a manufacturer and I know in my heart that I need to jump on board with Industry 4.0 sooner rather than later, at least before Industry 5.0 arrives. So, what would you recommend that I do for next steps?
The first thing I would recommend is go to our website. You can access the Smart Factory Institute webpage through peakperformanceinc.com, or you can just Google Smart Factory Institute Chattanooga and reach the webpage. And there's a link there where you can register for an upcoming info session, which you can learn more about what we do at the Smart Factory Institute. You can also see on the Peak Performance page a variety of events and webinars and workshops that you can attend.
Terrific. Well, I personally cannot wait to come. I'm inviting myself to Chattanooga to explore the Smart Factory Institute. Maybe the next episode we do can be there so we can demonstrate some things.
Love to have you. Thank you.
That'll be awesome. Well, thank you for both your perspectives on your career and also the knowledge about the Smart Factory Institute. To be able to have a hands-on place where manufacturers can test technologies, can get connected to technologies, and then bring their workforce up to speed on those technologies, it will be a huge boon to manufacturing. So thanks for sharing your time today.
Thank you.